Welcome to the Lunch and Learn webinar presented by Partners in Senior Care. Today's webinar is Navigating the Aging Journey of Life, Part 2, How to Anticipate Detours and Avoid Roadblocks of Aging. This is presented in listen-only mode and it's being recorded. Our speaker, Trisha Menoni, is the founder of family-owned Partners in Senior Care. She's a nurse, has been a nurse for over 45 years, and over 20 of those years have been helping seniors and their families navigate the aging journey. Thank you, Trisha, for talking today about navigating the journey of life. I'll take it over to you.
Thanks, Angie. Last month, we discussed that in order to age successfully, we needed to take care of our medical needs, improve nutrition, exercise our body and mind, and maintain or develop an emotional circle of support. So I gave you some homework, and I hope you did it both for yourself and your parent if you're helping them to age successfully. You should have made an appointment with your doctor if you hadn't seen them in the last 6 months to a year, reviewed your medical conditions, and determined what lifestyle changes you could make to improve any current medical conditions or prevent some from occurring. You should have written down a plan to accomplish those lifestyle changes. Probably eating better, probably a little less. Taking walks or going to the gym, learning a new skill or enjoying a forgotten hobby. That'll keep your mind alert. I hope you have called an old friend or a family member so that you have connected with your circle of support. Well, this month, we're into part 2, what I like to call getting it together before it falls apart. Whoa, that sounds frightening, doesn't it? But it doesn't have to be. It means getting all your personal information and or the personal information of your parents or spouse in one place. So when the inevitable disaster happens, and it will, the designated advocate is prepared and has all the information necessary to turn that disaster into a detour rather than a roadblock. Let me tell you about my system. I call it the Care Connector Binder. I use it for myself, my husband, my 96-year-old mother-in-law. I also use it for my clients that I help and that I'm their medical advocate. It has everything I need to know. Even more important, it has the information others need to know when I am not available. It's in a 3-ring binder. I have one for each and every person I work with, and it has tab sections. It takes about 3 to 5 hours to put together. It is at home, but it also goes to all the doctor's appointments, and it travels very well in carry-on luggage. I also have all the information scanned in my computer. So if my mother-in-law is traveling with someone else and they have the book, I also have the information I need. This might be overkill, but it makes me feel comfortable. You can order this book from us, or you can make one on your own. And you'll see copies of every single page we use. So let's get started. First and foremost, we start with personal information. That is a person's name, address, phone numbers, email, social security number, date of birth. What language or languages do they speak? This is especially important if you're working with someone where English was not their first language. I have a client who has Arabic as their primary language, and as he's developed dementia and is reverting and speaking both English and Arabic. Before that happened, I also knew where I could find translators, so if the children were not available. Most languages you can find a caregiver for. I have to say Arabic has presented a challenge. Polish, Italian, German, Those are all real easy ones to find. You need to know the marital status. Who was their employer or the spouse's employer? Because there might be pension or medical benefits that you as the adult child don't know about, and you can explore that. You need to know military or veteran information, whether that's for your mother or your father. You need to know if the spouse had it. There are caregiving benefits for both veterans and their spouses. And last but not least, you need to know the emergency contact. Who has the power of attorney? In my mother-in-law's book, I have all the family members. We have that listed on the other page. She has a lot of family members because she has 6 children, 6 in-law children. I have all of their home, cell, and employer numbers listed. I also have the significant grandchildren, the local grandchildren, because often they need to step up to the plate in case of an emergency. I want all this information at my fingertips. I also want it so paramedics or others can reach it if we're not available. The next page I have is neighbors or close friends, and some of you are laughing at this. The reason I put that in, when my mother was still alive and living independently, I would call her in the morning. My sister would call her in the evening. And yes, we loved her. Yes, we wanted to check in. But it was also our way when she was widowed to make sure she was alive and okay. Sometimes when she didn't answer the phone, it was nice to have her backyard neighbor Sherry's phone number. We'd give Sherry a call and say, Mom hasn't answered all day. Is the car in the driveway? Generally speaking, Sherry would laugh and say, no, the car's not in the driveway. Don't you remember, this is bridge day. She's not home. But she also would, sometimes Sherry would be aware of other activities my mother had. One time the car was in the driveway and Mom wasn't answering, and it turned out she had just left the phone off the hook. Sherry took care of that for us, and we didn't have to drive an hour to see what the problem was. You also need to know, as Mom and Dad are aging at home in place. I live in Chicago. It snows. It gets cold. I don't want my 80-some-year-old mother taking her own garbage cans to the street. So is there a neighbor that will do it? Sherry's son used to come over every Tuesday, take the garbage cans out. We offered to pay him, and he said, oh, no. He said, your mom used to drive me to school every morning in the winter when I was in grade school. The least I can do now that I'm in high school is take out her garbage. So part of being an advocate is knowing who to call and what you can delegate. Next is important people in my life. So there are other important people, not just our neighbors. And this can be whatever makes sense in your situation or your parents' situation. That can be the pastor of your mom's church so that she can be put on the prayer chain. Maybe the church has someone that will visit. In the case of Catholics, they'll bring her communion at home. Who's your mom's bridge partner? So if she goes into the hospital, you know who to call to let them know she won't be at the Wednesday bridge game. It also can alert your mom's close friends that she is in the hospital, so maybe they can visit. Next, we want to know important health numbers. Who's the primary care physician? Preferred hospital, which might not be the closest hospital to your mom or dad. The pharmacy. You want the phone number, the fax number, and the email. We'll talk about the importance of having the fax and the email a little bit later in our conversation. You also need to know important household numbers. Now, my mother-in-law lives in a senior living community. so she doesn't have a lot of numbers on this list. My husband and I still own a home. We have this list in our binder because that makes me look at it every year. But I also have it taped on the inside of a cabinet, so when we're out of town, our daughter knows who to call for household emergencies. This is especially important if you have a maintenance agreement on perhaps your furnace or appliance. One year when we were snowbirding in Florida, our furnace went out. So it was really good that our daughter knew who to call and what to do and didn't have to just pick up the phone book. There's also additional information for more names and numbers as necessary for your needs. You know, pet sitters, plumbers, lots of things. So now we're going on to medical information. When I put all of this together, medical information includes family history, surgical, health insurance, lots of information. When I helped my mother-in-law do this, I'd known her for 45 years. And when I sat down, it became very important, very evident, that I didn't really know that much about her. And she was reluctant at first to share. But I reminded her that at 91 years of age, somebody needed to know all the information. Since Jim and I live 5 miles from our house and are the closest, it was important that we have it. And as the nurse in the family, it gets to be my job. So I knew she had had an aortic valve replaced in her 80s, but we couldn't remember the year, neither could she. However, we knew she had the surgery after her grandson Andrew got married. We called Andrew's mom and got the information, got the year. So you'll see it just put the information together, even if you know it. I knew my mother had a gallbladder removed. When? Can't remember. She probably couldn't have either. But by doing this in advance, you give yourself enough time to figure out the approximate time that it happened. So let's look at all of these things piece by piece. Family medical history. Note which family member, whether that was a father, a mother, a sibling. We don't need cousins or aunts or uncles. And as you deal with your older parents, they'll start telling you Aunt Susie had this, and then you find out Aunt Susie wasn't even a blood aunt. She was married to Uncle Harry, who was a blood relation. So remember, you're looking at blood relations, and what is most important is father, mother, siblings, and self. You want to know the date for the diagnosis of the person that you're involved with. So when was the diagnosis, and who is the physician treating that diagnosis? So if it's a heart condition and you deal with a cardiologist, you need to know the cardiologist, not the primary care physician. It's also important to know the age and cause of death of parents and the person's siblings. Now again, as we deal with the very old, you might not know the cause of death. They might just say, I don't know, they just got old and died. If you can find a death certificate in all the family memorabilia, you might have more information. If not, you go with what you have. Surgical and hospitalization history. Remember what I said about my mother-in-law. It took us a while to figure out what years she had various surgeries. I will tell you, anything older than 10 years, approximations are fine. It doesn't matter if you had your tonsils out at 2, 4, or 10. You had your tonsils out in childhood. Same thing with a lot of other things. I always laugh when the doctor says to me, because I'm 70, when did your period end? And I just go, sometime in my 40s. Is this important? No. So health insurance information. You can write it all down. We have all the important things that you need to know. What I generally do I sometimes have to write it down for my clients, but I now have with technology, just take a picture of it with my phone, and then I'm able to put it into the computer, print it out, and I'm saving myself a lot of time writing. You can also just copy the front and the back of any and all insurance cards. Then you have the information you need. Now, what about physician information? Would that we only had good old Dr. Jones, the family doctor that took care of us for everything. We don't. We live in an age of specialities. So you need to list every specialty, name, address, phone number, fax, etc. I generally try and collect business cards, and then I just staple them on the sheet. I have one client that has 16 healthcare providers. Those are physicians, specialists, therapists, dentists, periodontists, the list goes on. I just had his wife with every visit collect business cards. 2, one for her book and one for mine. If you live out of town or mom goes to the doctor alone, you want to know those email or fax numbers. That way you can fax some of your concerns before her appointment. You might tell her to bring it up, but fax or email the doctor the concerns you have so he will bring it up. It keeps you in the loop. Depending on the relationship you have with your mother's physicians, etc., you might have to also give him a power of attorney of health care so he'll talk to you. I could tell my mother-in-law at 96 was not brushing her teeth the way she was supposed to. Somehow as a daughter-in-law to say, Mom, brush your teeth didn't seem appropriate. But I called the dentist the day before I took her to her appointment, gave him a heads up, and then let him be the bad guy. So lots of pages for all the physicians, and we've listed some specialties to help you to remember who you should ask about. There are also preferred providers other than the hospital. Yeah, you want to know the hospital. And sometimes you have a local hospital you go to. My husband sees a neurologist in the city, and if he had a neurological issue, then we would go to Rush University Hospital in the city because that's where his physician is. Home health agencies. If you or your loved one has used one in the past, list that. If you were happy with them, they have your records. The next time you need a home health agency, let the hospital or your doctor know. You have a choice who you get services from. So keep using the same people. They know you. It makes it easier. Private duty agencies. I put private duty caregivers in and out of my mother-in-law's life. If she's hospitalized for a couple days, when she goes home, she has a couple days of private duty care, just to make sure she transitions well. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. If you haven't used a private duty agency, check with friends. Go onto the Home Care Association of America's website. Do some research before you need one. My mother-in-law has oxygen. I have all that information. When she travels, I have all the oxygen then set up in motel rooms, all of those kinds of things. You need to know the numbers so that you can set up and do whatever you need to do. Outpatient rehab. My husband goes to one every year. We use the same people. It keeps him on target. Again, you don't have to write everything down. Everybody has business cards. Collect them and staple them. Current medications. Whoa. Do not take anyone's word for this. They do, and do not look at the list in Mom's wallet. It could be 3 years old. Ask them to take out their prescription bottles, go through them, say, are you taking them? Ask Mom, why is she taking it? Sometimes you will find she is taking a blood pressure medication from her primary care doctor and another one from her cardiologist. Are they both necessary? Then you can follow up with physicians. I always recommend that you update this list after every doctor's visit. Bring the list with you to the doctor, or again, fax it or email, so that mom doesn't forget what she is and taking. And trust me, the doctor or the doctor's nurse will very much appreciate you handing them a list. Here's your list. If you're not accompanying your loved one to the doctor's office, then plan on checking the bottles quarterly, just to make sure everything is still right. Sometimes you'll find maybe mom, all of a sudden, one medication isn't in their basket, and you say, why aren't you taking it? Well, it just got too expensive. Not a good idea. So just keep little tabs. So if you're doing this for yourself or your loved one, start with today. These are the current medications. Then you'll see there's a place for an end date, discontinued, as well as the physician that orders it. I also then turn on the back and say why it was discontinued. It could be an allergy, could be it didn't work. My husband was initially started on a muscle relaxant for his neuromuscular disorder. It worked great, but he began having horrid nightmares. So we needed to switch that medication. It's now been 5 years since that medication has been switched. I remember the horrid nightmares. He remembers the horrid nightmares. He doesn't remember the name of the medication, however, anymore. I do, because I'm a nurse. That's what I do. But on the back of his current medications, I have the name of the medication that it caused nightmares, discontinued due to nightmares. And I also have it, and you'll see further on where you have allergies and alerts, and I put it in there too. But if something were to happen to me, if I die before my husband, our daughter needs to know all of his medication history. Why was something discontinued? Otherwise, when my husband's 80, maybe is a little forgetful, maybe has a little dementia, and our daughter's going, oh, sure, put him on that med, and then he starts having nightmares. They think they're attributing it to something other than the medication. Need to know those things. Also, I always tell everyone, include over-the-counter medications, vitamins, stool softeners, anything you take. Next page, allergies and alerts. Again, that can be true allergies, or it can be something that you had a side effect. And you want to put down what is the allergy, how do you react? Headache, hives, nausea, swelling. Might be diarrhea or constipation. If a certain antibiotic causes you to be constipated, no, do you want to take it? Not if something else will work. What if you had an infection, they do the culture and sensitivity, and only one med can work? Then you say, can I live with constipation for 7 days? Maybe I could. I bruise very easily. Consequently, I never take aspirin. That's listed on mine. So you can also have special medical alerts. Again, copy those cards. Those for lens implants following cataract surgery, artificial heart valves, joint replacements. The cards are generally kept in your wallet, but copy those cards and keep them in your book. Now, legal documents. You can talk to an attorney and he can assist you in putting together these necessary legal documents for both you and your loved one. Not all of them need to be in your binder. Let's talk about the ones that do. A healthcare power of attorney allows someone to make a decision for you when you can no longer speak for yourself, either physically or mentally. Everyone over the age of 18 should have one of these. Without one, your spouse will make a decision for you. However, if you don't have a spouse, in the state of Illinois, it then goes to the children and majority rule. I have 4 children. They did not agree on supper, and I'm sure they wouldn't agree on my health care. Therefore, I have a child that is power of attorney of health care who understands my wishes and has agreed to go with them. And a living will spells out those wishes. What's a DNR? That's a do not resuscitate. Talk to your physician about that. In Illinois, it must be signed by both the person and their physician. And there are also a few choices to be made on the form. I recommend that you keep the power of attorney of healthcare and the DNR in the healthcare binder. Additionally, I tell people to keep copies in their glove compartment. In the case of my mother-in-law, I have copies of her POA of healthcare, her do not resuscitate, insurance cards, and current medications in my glove compartment, my husband's glove compartment, my brother-in-law and sister-in-law who live an hour away, who are the next step up, and my adult children. So if we're out of town and they have to step up to the plate, everybody has what they need, because we don't want to be making 15 binders, but those are really critical. And when the emergency happens and you arrive there in your car and you go, oh no, forgot the book, you have it in the glove compartment. Financial documents. When I give this talk to seniors, there's always someone that says it's none of the kids' business how much money I have. You might get the same reaction. My answer is no, they don't need to know how much, but they do need to know who and where so they can help you when you need it. Our daughter has a list of our financial advisors, banks we use, pension information. She doesn't know how much money is involved yet, but she does know the who and where. Now, my brother-in-law manages all of Mom's financial matters. At 95, she needs someone to know who, what, where, and how much. So we don't want her outliving her assets. Insurance policies. Need to know medical insurance, again, copy front and back. Long-term care insurance. That provides assistance with activities of daily living, either in the home or helps to pay for assisted living or nursing home. Need to know about life insurance. Where is it? How much is it? Prepaid funeral. I have had a couple clients that I have dealt with, and that's why I really stress this, that had prepaid funeral insurance, never told their children or me about it, died, buried, found after the fact, and they don't give refunds. So make sure you know about it. Other financial documents. Again, credit card. This is information you'll get gradually. If Mom is still alert and doesn't want to give up control. If there is a life-changing crisis, you're going to find about when the bills start arriving. Last week, I came across a wonderful article regarding how to track financial codes, auto pays, and we've included a PDF on this article for you because the author states it much better than I. But I will tell you, I have a whole list of all of those bills and how to pay them. Not in my health care binder, in a different part of my house, and my daughter knows where to find that. Okay, get all the information written down in one spot for yourself. You've written it down for your mom. You've let the rest of the family know where the binder is. What are the next steps to being a good advocate for your mother? Well, you either need to attend or help her prepare for doctor's appointments. Appointments are short. So we gave you a little physician visit records. It will help you come prepared with the questions you wish to ask. And remember, don't be afraid to fax or email questions beforehand. Maybe you think mom's having some memory problems or depression following dad's death. This is probably something you want to talk about before the appointment with the physician, not during the appointment. Then at the appointment, take some notes so you can communicate with the rest of the family. Appointments are short, so be prepared to write fast. Often doctors are now giving you a summary when you leave. Put that in your doctor's notes section. It helps you communicate with other doctors that are involved in your care or your mother's care. And never assume that the doctors are talking to each other, especially if they're not part of the same health system. Okay, so what's your homework for this month? We talked about what you need to do to be a good advocate for your partner or spouse. How do you sell the plan? The very best way is to start with yourself. Put your own binder together. Then share it with your mom or your spouse. Let her know how you did your binder so that your spouse or your adult children will have the necessary information to help you in a crisis. Then ask if you can put a binder together so that you can be a good advocate for her in a crisis. When I worked with one family, halfway through, the mom of the family said, "This is just like the notebook I kept on you kids." She had 10. "I couldn't keep you all straight," she said. "I had to have a notebook." She was an easy sell. She knew why. I guess we never outgrow our baby books. They just keep getting bigger. Any questions, Ange?
No, we don't have any questions at this time. The binder that we talked about was the Care Connector Healthcare Binder. You can give yourself peace of mind with the Care Connector Healthcare Binder, and you can order one at partnersinseniorcare.com. Next month,
we're going to talk about assessing needs, generally for a senior. What are the differences between senior living options, independent, assisted, nursing home, rehab? It's a whole alphabet soup, and we'll talk about what it means. Resources that are out either nationally in your individual community, and then how you put together a plan, an aging plan for your loved one. So lots to talk about next month. And what's that date, Ange?
That date is April 12th, so save the date, Navigating the Journey of Life, Part 3. Thank you so much for joining us today. We hope to see you again next month.